When I was 9, I went through a period of time where I was kind of plagued and tortured by my own thoughts about everything and nothing and the infinity of the universe. I was a little too young to be thinking about these things at 9 years old because it actually scared me. These are the questions that I asked myself as a kid. I basically would ask myself if any of this really existed, if all of my life was just a figment of my imagination, and I couldn't prove that other people really existed. Now, a lot of people, when they're plagued with these thoughts, I would assume would turn to religion, you know, um, turn to God and say, well, God made it all. And I believe in God. But then I went an extra step as a kid and I asked, well, okay, God made it, but who made God? And then people just kind of say, well, he was just there. He's just existed because he's God. But my mind would ask myself, well, who made him or it or them, or let's just say him for argument's sake, okay? Just for the purposes of this. Who made God? And then normally people would say, well, nobody. He was just there. But when you think about what is there, for one thing, where is there? What is there? And if someone made God, who made the someone that made God? And who made that person? And who made that entity? And who made that entity? And who made that entity? It goes on and on and on and on and on into infinity. There's like no answer to it. As a kid, I would watch shows like The Twilight Zone and things like that. It's my favorite show now, but back then it would scare me and it would make me think about these things. Basically, if you believe in God, the Bible says, the Apostle Paul says in 1 Corinthians 13:9 that we know in part. For we know in part and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. We all know in part. My daughter even brought this up to me recently. Like, she's not sure where her path is spiritually yet, but she has a lot of questions, very similar to the way I was asking questions at 9. She's like, well, how do you know this isn't some sort of figment of my imagination? How do I know I even exist? How do I know that I really even exist? Yes, I know I could feel myself. I could hear myself think. I got a fever once. I remember this as a child. I had a fever and I remember laying in the bed. My mom was sitting next to me on the bed and I looked at her in the eyes and I'm like, how do I know that you're really my mom? And she just kind of looked at me like, okay, your medicine will kick in soon. But I really meant it. You know, human beings think that they're the center of the universe. I mean, let's face it, folks. We think we are the shit and the center of the universe. We think we're advanced, with all our technology and stuff. We think we're so advanced. But in you and I don't know shit. You and I don't know shit. And deep down, I think we all know that. We don't know anything. And what we know is very limited, even with all our technology that we've grown into. But I actually would get very scared at these thoughts as a kid. Like, I felt very alone. Like, am I the only one that really exists? And I don't mean like I'm the center of the universe and everyone should be. No, it was like, how do I know I'm not alone in this universe? How do I know that people, places, things really exist? A lot of people are starting to talk about all this being kind of a simulation. That's kind of where I was going with it. Because there's really no proof. When you really think about it, there's no proof that your family exists, that anything else exists except yourself. And God made you, and who made God, and who made that, and who made that, and who made that. It goes on and on and on. I finally got over it. I was around 9 when I started thinking about these things. And I just got over it because it was too much for me. I just decided to deal with it, and that was it. Because it drove me absolutely insane thinking about it. So I just dropped it and let it go. You know, for those of us who think God made everything, I just think there are realities even the most brilliant minds can't comprehend, like Stephen Hawking or Neil deGrasse Tyson or Nikola Tesla, Albert Einstein. There's stuff that even those great minds, there's realities that those great minds can't even comprehend, and that we can't even comprehend. And that if we really knew the truth and we really saw things as they really are, if we knew where God came from and where that came from and where that came, I don't think we'd be able to handle it. I think we would just implode or explode if we really knew the truth about the endless universe. And perhaps we'll spend eternity learning the answers bit by bit. My image of heaven, besides what the Bible says about heaven and streets of gold and all that stuff and mansions, my image of heaven is that we just keep learning things. We keep asking all the questions, the endless questions, and keep learning and keep learning and keep learning into infinity. I'm not scared by it anymore, because I wouldn't have a life if I thought about stuff like that all the time. I wouldn't have a life. But I think a lot more people are starting to think about these things. And it does feel like the Twilight Zone. It really does. Because there's really no answer to it until we go to the other side. I want you guys to kind of chime in, like, if you are a believer in the creator of the universe, where do you think that creator came from? What is nothing? There's no such thing as nothing. How could there be nothing? There was nothing and then suddenly boom. I mean, what was nothing? Air, darkness, particles? How could there actually be literally nothing? Starting to confuse myself even more just thinking about this. But really what I'm asking for in this video is, what do you think about these things? Do you feel that you can prove that you exist, that you really exist? How do you prove it? How do you prove that your best friend even exists? And we're not the center of the universe, which is probably a good thing. So like and subscribe to my damn channel, and I really want to know your thoughts, because this stuff used to drive me crazy. And if you have any answers, that would be great to hear some answers. So I guess this is short and sweet. Have a great day. Thanks for watching, and peace.